This video is going to talk about basic trig problems, missing sides, missing angles, and finding the sine, cosine, and tangent, and why it's confusing. It's designed for someone who's already seen some basic trig lessons, but is having trouble with figuring out what to do when they see the problems. One of the reasons it's so confusing is you can have the same exact picture, and there could be multiple different questions they could ask about it. So here are an example of some questions they could ask about this picture. They could say, find the sine of A, find angle A, find side AC, or solve the entire triangle. And this is just a few of the things they could ask. So we're going to go ahead and talk about how to set up the basic trig equation and use one equation to answer all the questions that might be asked. So let's start with the question, find the sine of angle A. We're going to use this basic trig setup. Sine of theta equals opposite hypotenuse. Cosine of theta equals adjacent hypotenuse. Tangent of theta equals opposite adjacent. You don't have to memorize all of that. You just need to memorize SOHCAHTOA. And what I do is I just write it on the side. And then I can remember that the first one is what it is, and then the second two are the fraction that it is. So SOHCAHTOA. So if they ask for the sine, I start with my basic equation. First, I'm going to label my sides. So angle A is where I'm looking from. The opposite side is the farthest side from it, so this is opposite. 6 is across from the right angle, so it is the hypotenuse. And this side I'm not going to label for now because I don't need it to answer this first question. So the sine of theta, which is A in this case, is opposite hypotenuse. And that is all I have to do if they ask for the sine. I can write it as the sine of A is 0.5 if I wanted to, or the sine of A is 1/2. Now if they ask for angle A, I'm going to start with the same exact equation. So find angle A, I would start with the sine of angle A is 3/6. But this time I'm solving for angle A, and I have to cancel out a sine. The first thought might be, well, I'm just going to divide by sine. But sine is stuck to angle A. It's part of this, and the only way to undo it is the inverse sine, sometimes called the arc sine. And it will cancel the sine, and it'll just leave you A. But you have to do it to both sides. So on our calculator, we're going to do the inverse sine of 3/6, and that's going to give us angle A. And the angle that has a sine of 3/6 is 30 degrees. Make sure you're in degree mode, not radian mode. On your calculator, hit mode and see if degree is highlighted. So that's how you get the angle. Now let's say they ask me for side X. This time, I'm going to need to label X as my adjacent side. So I could use either the opposite or the hypotenuse to find the adjacent. I'm going to use opposite adjacent, and I'm going to set up that equation. So opposite adjacent is tangent. So tangent, and it's still A, but in this case, I've already figured out what A is. So tangent of 30 equals opposite adjacent, so 3/x. Now I need to solve my equation for x. So x is in the denominator, and I need to get it out. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So now I'll have x tangent of 30 equals 3, and tangent of 30 is stuck together, so if I'm going to divide by it, I have to divide by the whole thing. Tangent of 30 on both sides. These cancel, and I'll have x equals 3 divided by the tangent of 30. And on your calculator, adding extra parentheses on any fraction is a good idea. It'll keep it straight. It's not always necessary, but trying to second guess yourself, it's better just to add parentheses around the numerator and the denominator. I'm going to pause this while I get my calculator out. So when I did 3 divided by tangent of 30, I got x equals 5.19615, and it goes on. They'll tell you what to round to. One thing to be careful of is don't round in the middle of an equation, because then it introduces rounding errors, especially if you're squaring that or multiplying it by something. Good luck.